Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I presume everybody can see the screen, Canto 5, Chapter 11. So we wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nrsingadev, Jagannath Pradesh, Soda, Gaurnitai, Tulsimani, Shri Haridas Thakur, Guru Parampara, Shri Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembly devotees. So continuing on with fifth canto, chapter 11 is Jad Bharat instructs King Raghugana. So, the uncontrolled mind, contaminated by three modes of nature, is exactly like an uncontrolled elephant. And elephants are really strong. So the mind is described to be like an elephant, uncontrolled elephant. When the mind is situated in a higher or lower position, it accepts a higher or lower material body. So if our mind is degraded, then we will go down into the lower species of life, like animal kingdom, plant world. Thus one suffers or enjoys material distress and happiness. However, when the mind becomes unattached to material enjoyment, it becomes the cause of liberation. So verses 5 and 6 describe some of the characteristics of this mind of ours. Vasan Atma is endowed with pious and sinful impressions. These impressions come from our past activities. Vishaya uparata, attached to material sense enjoyment. Just 1 second. Now, Vishaya uparakta, attached to the material sense enjoyment. Guna pravaha, conducted by the modes, so it's controlled by the modes. Vikrata, subject to the transformations of lust and anger. So it's always chanchala, it's just changing. Mind is always changing. Shodashma, chief amongst the 16 elements. Vipakta patak namabhi rupa vedan, cause of different types of bodies in higher and lower positions with different names. Maya rachitan taratma, the covering on the jiva by the Maya, made by Maya. Samastri sakrakuta, deceives the jiva into the wheel of repeated birth and death. Dukham sukham vyatiriktam, creates unavoidable distress, happiness, and illusion over the course of time. So mind has got so many characteristics. And if our consciousness becomes degraded, like this person here likes to sleep a lot, that's all they do, then unfortunately the next life, Mother Nature will find us a suitable body for that consciousness. Body of a bear, perhaps, sleeping for 6 months a year. Or if we just eat anything and everything, maybe become a pig. Eat meat, or raw meat even. Maybe become a lion or a tiger. Like to show off our body, maybe become a tree and show off the body for years and years. In material life, the mind creates various activities which are manifest sometimes in dreams and during wakefulness. But during deep sleep, they disappear. The conditions jiva absorbs himself in conventional world of samsara. But the liberated soul absorbs himself in the Supreme Lord, who has the following characteristics. So, this is a comparison, I suppose, to the characteristics of the mind. These are the characteristics of the Supreme Lord. He's Atma, the all-pervading cause of creation. Purusha, unrestricted controller. Puraha, the original. Shakshat, perceived by hearing and direct perception. Swayam Jyoti, self-effulgent. Aja, not experiencing birth, death, old age, and disease. Paresha, controller of all the demigods. Narayana, shelter of the jivas after the annihilation of the world. Bhagavan, full of all opulences. Vasudeva, resting place of everything material. Swamayatmani avadhiyatmanaha, present within the hearts of all living entities by his own potency. He's also all-pervading. Just as air enters and controls all moving stationary beings in the form of prana, Lord Vasudeva, the knower of all bodies, enters all bodies and controls them. So he's there as the super soul. The soul's designation, the mind, is the cause of all tribulations in the material world. One must conquer the mind by neglecting the mind. So the mind will make many impositions. I want to eat this, I want to see this, I want to hear this. So we have to learn to ignore the mind when it's not going to help us. Attentiveness, so always being careful of the mind, watching the mind, and the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Lord. So we make it as, we try to engage the mind in the service of the Lord. So it's a really powerful chapter. Chapter 12. So this is continuing the conversation between Maharaj Raghugana and Jadbharat. The king understands that Jadbharat is a special soul, hiding his transcendental position. He also understands that his own condition and vision has been bitten by the serpent of pride, and that Jadbharat's words are medicinal. However, Raghugana cannot understand the philosophy spoken by Jadbharat, so he requests him to repeat it in a simple way. So this is very important, actually, because we phones going one after the other today. So 1 second. Okay. Jadbharat explains that the four forms of the palanquin carrier and the king are made of the same element and parts. So the palanquin is made up of earth, water, fire, air, and the king's body is made up from the same things: earth, water, fire, air. However, the soul within the king's body thinks he is superior to others and therefore mistreats them. Different bodies and capacities are simply transformations of the earth that exist in name only. So everything is so temporary. And we are thinking we have a high position now. Well, who knows? In the next life, our position may be completely reversed. Who knows? No guarantees. And usually it's reversed because of pride, arrogance, greed. Lord Vasudev, is the source of Brahman and Paramatma. This absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. Pure devotees discuss only the qualities, forms, pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By association with devotees, one engages in devotional service and goes back to Godhead. Jadbharat then explains his previous births to assure the king that he will not be cheated by his instructions. So Jat Bharat is really kind. Up to now, he has not revealed himself, but to King Raghugana, he reveals himself. And he even discloses his previous lifetimes to previous births. Here, phone's been going.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wait for.
So, because this acts as a really important illustration to the king, a practical example of what has happened in the past to show that one can glide down from a very high exalted position. Maharaj Bharat was king, but then he became a renunciate, and he was so close to pure love of God. But yet, even from that position, he became a deer. So this is an illustration of what Jat Bharat is explaining to the king. That one life you may be thinking you're superior to others and mistreat them, but you don't know next life what can happen. We don't know what can happen next minute. So, chapter 13. Further talks between King Raghugana and Jat Bharat. The living entity who wanders on the path of the material world accepts three types of fruits: auspicious, inauspicious, and mixed. He works very hard day and night, exactly like a merchant who enters the forest to get things to sell. However, he cannot really achieve happiness within this material world. And the reason why there is no real happiness in this world is because everything is temporary. No matter how hard we work to obtain happiness, obtain wealth, friends, good family circle, etc., houses, cars, this, that, the other. There's something called death, which destroys everything, and one has to start all over again. So there cannot be any possibility for happiness in this world. This world is perfectly imperfect. It's designed in such a way that it will never make us happy. It will always make us fail. And this is not being negative. It will help us fail because we have somewhere else to succeed. This is not our rightful place. So if this material world was a place of happiness and success, we would be misled. But instead, it's a place of untold misery. The tigers, jackals, and other ferocious animals in the forest are compared to wife and children who plunder the merchant. He also encounters mosquitoes, whirlwinds, crickets, fruitless trees, mirages, shallow rivers, forest fires, and mountains full of thorny paths. Sometimes he's swallowed by a python, falls into a dark well, goes after women, while unsuccessfully trying to counteract the natural disturbances of freezing cold, scorching heat, strong winds, excessive rainfall, and so forth. Sometimes he's cheated and he goes to beg, borrow, or steal from others. Being afraid of roaring lions in the forest, the wandering mendicant merchant makes friends with cranes, herons, and vultures. Being agitated by the so-called yogis, swamis, and incarnations, he tries to leave them and come to the association of devotees. But due to misfortune, he cannot follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So instead returns to the association of monkeys who are simply interested in sense gratification in women. Sometimes he falls victim to an incurable disease, which is like falling into a mountain cave. He becomes afraid of death, which is like the elephant in the back of a cave. So this is This is unfortunately the way of this world. And of course, we may not face roaring lions, or, have friends like herons or vultures. But actually, we just cannot trust anybody in this world, really. It's very hard. Friends can stab each other, as can family members. They're talking behind their own people's back. Um, so these animals are sort of there, although they may not be in this particular form described in this chapter. Jat Bharat advises the king to give up attraction to sense objects and take up the sword of knowledge sharpened by devotional service. King Rahugana appreciates how, by a moment's association with the great devotee Jat Bharat, he is now free from argument, false prestige, and lack of discrimination. Jat Bharat forgives him and again begins to wander the earth as before. The king understood the position of the conditioned soul. Whoever takes shelter of the servant of the Lord can easily give up bodily conception. However, Parikshit said to Shukadev Goswami that this was not easy for the unintelligent to understand the purport of this story, as it is difficult to extricate the exact meaning from the allegory, and requested him to give it a direct meaning. So this will end there, chapter 13. So chapter 14 is going to be very interesting because Sukadeva Goswami will describe the instructions of Jat Bharat in a more easier way for us to understand. Any questions? Oh, sorry, Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Very interesting chapter of the Bhagavatam, the conversation between King Rahugan and Jat Bharat.
Mm.
Very good. So the first part was about the mind. So in Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse which says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru mam avasasi satyante prati jano priyosime. So Lord Krishna advises that our mind should be engaged in thinking of him like that. So yes, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it becomes a bit more practical and
Mm.
is facilitated this way by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Mm.
And then, yes, it describes about the forest with all those animals. So the material world itself is like a forest.
Mm.
Here we are in a struggle for existence. In the forest, there's so many dangerous animals which can attack us. And some examples have been given, like we may fall into a well,
Mm.
like mountain caves, like that. So in this way, as the saying goes, padam padam yadvi padam. In
Mm.
every footstep, there is danger in the materialistic concept of life. And the best course, as advised in Bhagavad Gita, is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, and to always aspire for Shuddha Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. And our prayer is always like Vishwambhara Vishwera Kalyana, that Gauranga Prabhu will bestow his mercy and save all of us. This is our prayer. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Nitai Gaur Hari.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that, Surinder Prabhu. Any questions, any comments by anybody? Okay, thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki jai.
Prabhuji,
Oh, yes, Priyanjali.
I have a question.
Sure.
Humans are made out of 5 elements, right?
Yes, yes.
So, you said that there were earth, water, fire, and air.
Yeah. And ether.
That-
Ether. Yeah, I forgot the last one.
Oh, okay. Because you didn't say ether, so
Ether.
I thought.
Hey, you're sharp. Very good, Priyanjali. I'm very impressed. Thank you so much. What else did you want to ask?
Not anything else.
Ah, very good. So you remember that, huh?
Yes.
Very good. You got good memory. Thank you so much. Okay, so Jad Bharat ki jai.